Good morning, Cascade. My name is Jessica Williams, and welcome to the kCMS News. This week, we are doing a special report on Veterans Day, honoring our veterans. With more thoughts on this special day, here is Nakia with Mr. Pinkerton.
Good morning, Cascade. This is Nakia reporting live with Mr. Pinkerton for kCMS News. Mr. Pinkerton, how is your day going?
So far, so good. How are you doing, Nakia?
Pretty good. What is some history about Veterans Day you can tell us about?
All right. Well, for those of you that don't know, this past Friday was Veterans Day, and we didn't have school on Veterans Day. And Veterans Day actually was created as a day to celebrate the end, originally, of World War I. And I believe President Woodrow Wilson created it, and it was kind of a day to celebrate, hey, no more World War, and we've continued it since the 1920s, basically. So that's kind of why we had the history of Veterans Day. It was kind of created to celebrate the end of World War I.
Very cool. So why is Veterans Day important to you?
I wish students would know that, even though Veterans Day doesn't seem like it's a holiday where you get presents or candy or, something like that, in my opinion, Veterans Day is a very important holiday. And even though I'm not necessarily pro or con war or military per se, but I just want people to know that throughout the history of this country, there's been a lot of people in the military that have worked very, very, very hard and been incredibly diligent and fought hard for the freedoms that we have today. And, without people fighting in World War II, who knows how far Adolf Hitler and the Nazis would have gone to conquer the earth. And without the Revolutionary War, we might still belong to England. Who knows? And so I guess I want people to know that it's not just war. It's mostly about people in this country who have fought really, 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 really hard to be in the military and the freedoms that we have today. That's what I want kids to know.
Thanks again, Mr. Pinkerton. Back to you, Jesse.
Thank you, Nakia and Mr. Pinkerton, for the wonderful history about Veterans Day. Autumn Ty is here. She wrote a creative reflection about Veterans Day. Autumn, thank you for sharing this with us.
Imagine standing in neat, tidy rows with a room full of honorable silence. After months and years of fighting at war, you miss the sweet, warm hugs of your loving family. Waiting safely at home, a melodic tune stays in your head while everyone around you stands in silence. The American flag propped sophisticately above your head, adding just the perfect touch to the heartwarming ambiance. It's quite difficult to not feel proud after using your life to fight and protect your country. Losing the ones close to you at war burns your heart, yet knowing you have a whole country taking a whole day to honor your actions really cools the sting. Veterans Day is not only a day to celebrate your loved ones who have fought, but it's also a day to remember those from the past. War isn't just about blood and fighting, it's about standing up for our rights and our liberty, but mostly the freedom we have today. If it weren't for George Washington, we'd still belong to England. This may not be the most exciting thing, but it is something that should be recognized. Brave people go out to battle against the other countries, risking their own lives for us. More and more die each day just for our happiness. Men who have a wife and family leave, putting their life in jeopardy. Receiving the knock on your door from the police could either be the best or worst news of your life. On the bad side, what would you do if the report was of your loved one dying? It would be horrible. I can tell you that. It's very simple, actually, taking one day out of 365 days to be thankful. If you look at it in a certain way, you are quite a lucky person. You get the opportunity to see your family and friends for the majority of the year while brave beings are out at war. Just one day, I'll challenge you to something. This next Veterans Day, take at least 60 seconds to honor our veterans. I guarantee that you'll feel different.
That was amazing, Autumn. Now I bring to you Callie Nelson, who is standing by with Miss Holton.
This is Callie Nelson with kCMS News, reporting live with Mrs. Holton. Good morning, Miss Holton. How are you today?
I'm quite well, thank you, Callie.
This morning I had the chance to read through some very special memoirs. Could you tell us more about the document?
Sure, the memoirs were written by my grandfather, Kurt, and they are his memories from when he was in the Navy during World War II.
Thank you so much for that. So I understand that you typed this whole document. What was that like?
Well, it was quite an intense process because my grandfather wrote up all of his stories from when he was in World War II in separate notebooks, and I went through each notebook and I typed up all of his stories, and then I gave them back to him so that he could edit and make sure I did it correctly. And then we added some pictures to complete the whole thing.
Did you have fun doing that?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun because for me, not being somebody who was a real social studies fan, into history, so to speak, it was neat to have that personal connection knowing that these were true memories of my grandfather and things that he experienced.
Were you close to your grandpa?
I was. I had the opportunity growing up to spend a lot of time with him, and even though he passed away a couple years ago, I was fortunate to get to spend 27 years of my life with him.
Thank you, Miss Holton. Now back. While reading this document, I found a very fun adventure that they had while they were on the ship. They found a Jeep and they took it aboard, and this is the one I'm going to share with you today. In the course of events, the 865, I can't remember where, was nestled against the pier, and lo and behold, we noticed a Jeep resting comfortably on the dock. Close to the edge and close to the ship, the LST carried a crane forward and just aft of the bow superstructure used to load and offload from the piers. We, the chief boatswain, and myself put our heads together and came to the agreement that the Jeep had been forsaken of ownership. And being that we were loving and compassionate king of sailors, we determined to rescue the forlorn vehicle. I climbed aboard the crane, rotated the boom over in our orphan, and Proctor and Petrosky did the tie-on work. Boy, oh boy, we were land mobile. We must have sailed shortly after the rescue, as never were there any repercussions. Our 3 officers were former enlisted men and so were in complete sympathy with our act of mercy. Also, and most importantly, they had wheels. Petrosky and I, while in Sasebo, got permission to drive over to Nagasaki to view the ruin caused by the atomic bomb only a little over a year before. The roads in Sasebo were good, paved, and wide. We came to the outskirts of the city and started bouncing up and down, fore and aft, and all points in between. Can you believe the road was round, about 6 feet diameter cobblestones? The Jeep, with its stiff springs and short wheelbase, jumped and jerked so much we only went a few miles and gave up on the trip.
Thanks, Callie. That was a very touching story. We'll be right back with more honoring of our veterans after this break. We now leave you with a picture of a former Cascade student, Stephen Bahia, who is currently serving in the Marines.
And a clean catch from Mrs. Holton.
Wow, look at those fingers go.
Oh, she might have one side done.
How is she doing that?
Is she even looking?
I can't even do it when I'm looking at it.
That doesn't surprise me.
What is she looking at?
Is the orange sign done already?
Why is she squinting?
Is there another side finished? What is she doing?
How many sides does she have finished already? Mrs. Holton is a genius.
But I find it funny that she's doing all those different faces while doing this.
Oh, you gotta love her.
Look at that Mrs. Holton. Algebra teacher and a Rubik's Cube master. Who knew?
And now, welcome back to the kCMS special. Maya Connor has another moving essay about Veterans Day.
Veterans Day is very important because it's a time when we can sit down and really think about what people have done for our country. A moment to praise those who have risked and lost their lives for us. A day where we can really look and know our world isn't perfect, but we are fighting for it to be. People are stationed fighting for us right now, but we don't think much of it since we are so detached from the big picture and problems of our world today. Veterans Day is where we can especially take a minute, step back, and say wow. Emotionally and physically damaged soldiers come home with nightmares, flashbacks, and scars. And we don't appreciate that. It was for us, so we could have it better. Most of us couldn't even deal or imagine what they've been through. Veterans Day is the day to do it and appreciate it, if not another. Show love to those who are fighting or have fought for us. Memorialize those lost, scarred, and damaged. Respect them. They're our fighters.
This has been a special report on Veterans Day at kCMS News. I'm Jessica Williams, and thank you, and have a great day.
This special was brought to you in part by the Rubik's Cube.
Also by the letter X, D, Q, and then number 19.